Peace and love, everyone. It's your girl, Karina, and I'm coming to you to talk about the first presidential debate. And I'm really grateful that I have Patreon because I would not feel comfortable sharing my ideas on the public social media platforms, even though I'm still on YouTube, so it could still be taken down. But it's privated on YouTube and specifically for Patreon. So I am going to do a little intro on my YouTube, but this is where I really want to dispel my ideas first. And that is that everything, I really sense that everything that has occurred with this debate was always written in the stars to do so, and it is planned to be so. So when that idea comes and it's like, well, everything is pre-planned and everything is supposed to happen as it does that mean that these men are actors? Doesn't mean that they're really on the same side. Doesn't mean that they're not as angry as they appear to be at one another. And I want to clarify that in saying that from my observation and from what little I know, but from my observation, they are truly enemies, okay? But they are enemies of one specific entity, of one specific order. That's what I really feel like it is. Remember, everything that I do is referencing patterns, and I want to go back to the Alice in Wonderland reference, in which there's a moment where Alice is in the follow the rabbit through the rabbit hole, drink, eat, whatever, cries herself to into a frenzy and ends up in the river of her own tears and passes by the white caucus race. So I've been holding off that part because I wanted to wait until we were in the middle of the white caucus race, which we are currently, right? And so this is clearly like a Caucasian fight. It is a civil war, right? But a lot of the times we think that civil war embodies everybody, and I don't think that it does. What I am really picking up from what I've studied and the patterns that I see is that this is a civil war amongst the white people, okay? And if you are one of my lovely white people, this is not to be racist or anything, it's just observation, okay? I think that it is a civil war specifically between maybe the more higher ranking white people, right? The richest of the rich white people, the people who are specifically the white man, and how the white man that can never be taken down in our minds and our eyes. And I do feel that that is Trump. I think that he is the Zeus. I think that he is the big shot. He is the destined winner of everything that is going to happen. I think that Biden is the underdog because I think that Biden represents the poor white men. Okay? And this is actually making a lot more sense to me as it's coming to me. I must be getting information from the trees and from my ancestors because there is this history of the Democratic Party, the far left, right, that is rooted actually in racism. And they were actually the ones who probably really were more racist in the beginning of the life of the Democratic Party. Okay, because this, it's so complex, so I don't want it to be so black and white, but follow me here, in which I'm saying, like, in the beginning of America, when we had slavery and it was in the positions of which black people were starting to be free, but still not quite free, there was still that transition period of where they would be allowed to have rights, but still there was a lot of, racism, that there would be hired help, hired white men, and even actually some Chinese, but specifically white men, and I believe of the Irish descent. If I'm wrong, please correct me on this, because you guys know, if you know what I'm talking about, then you can help me and telling me which culture it was that was the poor white men, because they were the ones who were hired to chase after and look for like black people, right? Who were like, some were runaways, some were just men of rights, but they were the ones who were chasing them and bringing them back to the plantation and bringing them back to a more heavily racist city, okay? I'm stuttering only because I don't want to give you the wrong information, and I didn't prepare myself on this talk, but I just know that I have studied this in the past and I just don't remember the details. But that's the main point is that there is a sector of poor white men that were hired to chase after runaway slaves and whatnot. Okay, so these poor white men are kind of part of the face of the beginning of the Democratic Party, okay, of that representation of the Democratic Party, okay? So I don't know how the transition happened in which that became what the Democratic Party is today, in which now it represents liberals, but I do know that that's how it began, okay? So now when we look at Biden and Trump, we're looking at still a civil war amongst the Caucasian men. And I think that it is a civil war between the originally rich racist men, versus the poor racist men, okay? And so this is why it is extremely polarizing, because you might disagree with me, but Biden is not wholeheartedly a racist man, but he has some bad history, okay? And that's because his party is rooted in bad history too. So Trump is not the only racist, okay? But where they differ is in class and tier. This is why Trump is going after his education, going after his knowledge, his wisdom, going after, and Biden has, from what I understand, he has a stuttering problem. Like he doesn't necessarily, he comes from more humble beginnings than Trump. You know what I'm saying? So that shows you already, even non-esoterically, just actually, it's rich white man versus poor white man, okay? Because that's what this is really about. And that's what this presidential debate and race is about. And maybe that's what it's always been about, okay? So the poor white man sector has switched over and now is basically turned completely liberal and represented the underdog, because he is the underdog to the rich white man. And this is why now when we're talking about America and Americans voting, that the Democratic Party appeals to the underdogs of America, right? So the liberals of America, the liberal train of thought, the African Americans, black people, Moor people, whatever you want to call them, the the immigration situation, gay rights, right? Because even though actually in a lot of the gay communities, they are actually rising incredibly strong economically, in my opinion, but they're still considered the underdog as far as this is concerned. So this is why the poor white man, right, is going to be the representative of the underdogs, because towards Trump, he is the underdog, okay? So they're both a face and representation of something, and they both are destined to be where they're at. In my Astro Geeks astrology talk, I have it on my YouTube channel, we talked a lot about Biden, and one of the conflicts that I had with one of the other astrologers was saying that Biden isn't a man of authority. And they're right. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but where they're missing is that Biden is still destined to be where he is supposed to be at right now as well, okay? And he is an underdog because he's not considered astrologically to ever be necessarily in authority, right? Even as a vice president, right? That's still like second to authority. But he has authority in the sense that he is supposed to be where he is, representing who he's supposed to represent in this specific date and time. And the people that are behind Trump and the order that is behind Trump, they may not have seen that Biden was coming, but they knew that they would have an opponent, right? But they may not have known that it was Biden because they did know that it was going to be Trump. Trump is always supposed to be what he's doing right now. But I don't know if they knew that was Biden, but in Biden's astrology, this was his chance. He is supposed to be the representation of the underdog fighting the richest of the richest white men. So when you look at the actual debate stage, I kept looking at the screen and I'm like, they're both looking left. And maybe I'll make a post about it later because I'm like, they're both looking left. Like, where is the moderator? Because to me, it looks like they're both looking left. So I got a picture and hi, I'm at the playground now, just to see exactly what it was. And it's just how it's positioned. They're not facing forward. They're facing it's almost like a catty corner to the stage. So Trump is catty corner to stage right, and Biden is catty corner to far stage left, right? And the moderator is in the middle. But what that does is it makes Biden, because he's left, look to his left to the moderator, right? And because of where Trump is, he looks to his left because he's far stage right. Because Biden is catty cornered, he has to look left, right? So if they were facing forward, exactly like straight and forward, Biden would be looking to his right and Trump would be looking to his left because the moderator would be in the middle. And I just felt like this can't be completely a coincidence. So I feel like there's a little bit of a ritual or something here in which they're focused on this energy of looking left. And maybe it was a ritual for the audience that's watching. Okay? But that's what I found in the layout of how they're standing. And the other thing is that Trump and Biden are, this is the actual core of everything that everyone should know by now if they recognize the patterns of everything that's been going on, is that they are both representative and symbolic of the Twin Towers. They're both representative and symbolic of the number 11, okay? They are polarizing to each other. They are literally supposed to be absolutely cutting each other's throat because the symbology in all of entertainment is that the house is on fire. And that's exactly what this is showing, is that this has always been the case, right, in every presidential debate. But this is the one that is really making a clear cut about that. Hold on. Okay, sorry, y'all. My daughter fell, so I had to go check on her, but she seems to be okay. Okay, so that's what I was saying, is that it seems like they are representing the two poles, right? The polarizing forces. So that 11 is such a difficult number. And you would know this from anyone who's born with a master 11, anywhere in their numerology, anything like that, right? So it's very difficult energy. So the 11 is supposed to be a number related to the 2, but it's the most difficult number related to the 2 because it's a double 1, and it's two energies that have their own agenda and are not able to harmonize with each other. And it requires a lot of work in order for the 11 master number to manifest what it truly could, right? So this could be something great. So that is what we're seeing. Okay, so we talked about the towers, and in the middle of them, I didn't get to analyze it enough, but within the middle of them is the symbol of the eagle. So the eagle is representative and connected to Scorpio season. Okay, of course, the eagle is also the symbol of America, right? So with the eagle being in between the poles, it just definitely feels like a ritual, you know. I'd love for you guys to tell me what you think. Knowing that Scorpio is a transformative energy, it's an energy of two prestigious people coming together, right, on an intimate level. It's an energy of creating prestige because of the connection of two together. It's also an energy of sex, you know. So tell me what you think with the two poles and the eagle in the middle. What could that represent for you? But definitely the layout was all ritual. How both of them were standing was all ritual. And my thing is that these two really don't like each other. So even though there's a lot that's been destined, what's also been destined is that the two opposites would actually have legit reasons in which they do not like each other. And I think that Biden has waited a long time to be in this position. And it took, so Trump has been destined to be in this position, but it took Biden a lot of time, including working under a lot of people, being used by a lot of people in order to have his chance. You know what I'm saying? Obama was great for black people in the sense of image, but Obama was a black man in a white man's race, you know, and he needed Biden because maybe he knew that. And I still feel like when it comes to Obama, there's still much more in store for his role. But when it comes to this debate, I'm really seeing how destiny works out, and it's not all completely planned out. You know, there are certain things that have been planned out, but then there are other things that it just works really well that these two hate each other because they are perfect actors or roles to create the agenda of the twin towers, right? The next level of the twin towers, the next level of the polarizing energy of the 11. So that's what I wanted to say about it, and I'm sure that there's going to be more that comes to me, but that's what I have to say for now. Definitely check out the presidential talk that I did with the three other astrologers. They're amazing. And we went through all the birth charts of the candidates except for Pence. But we did go through the birth charts of Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris, sorry, Joe Biden and Trump, discussing their astrology and what role their birth chart says about where they're supposed to be. And I thought it was a really interesting talk, okay? But I feel really wholesome because I've been so unsure about voting and who's the right side, and it's so hard for anyone to choose a right side if you are in the position where we are, where you can see the patterns, where you know that there's a bigger agenda happening, because you know, for the liberal state of minds out there, you're drawn more to Biden because he does represent the underdog at this point and he is representing you. But in the core of it, it's not even about that. That's not why these men hate each other. It's not because Biden cares that much about the underdogs of America. I mean, he might, but the fight that they have between each other is a lot deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? I think that is a fight of dynasties. It is a civil war amongst Caucasians, and specifically amongst the powerful white man, and it's going down. And I do think that Trump is the Goliath and that Biden is the David. I do not know if Biden is going to be as successful as David was in the story. Okay, and that the reason I think that is because there's a movie out right now. I can't remember what it's called, but it's on Netflix and it's about two robots. And it's like one of the top options for Netflix. And I watched it with my family the other night, and me and my husband were like, "This feels so bizarre that they would choose to show this right now." And it would be one of the top 10. And it's about two robots that are, of course, controlled by man, and the underdog goes up against the biggest robot ever called Zeus, And he makes his rounds. He does way better than people predicted, but he was never supposed to win. It was still supposed to be Zeus, but we could see how great it was for him to win. You know what I'm saying? So the last thing I would say about this is that if you love a winner, then you might be somebody who's rooting for Trump. Even if you aren't a white man, you might like Trump because Trump is a winner. Like he is a there is almost impossible for him not to win. But if you are somebody who roots for the underdog, who has compassion for the underdog, you know what I'm saying, then you probably will go more for Biden. And that's just an opinion, but that's where I'm leaving it at. Okay? I'll see you guys in the next videos. Stay tuned.